Hello and welcome to the Homeowner Prep Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Halan, and this podcast was created to provide real-world advice and accountability for first-time homebuyers. We'll be interviewing industry experts, providing some how-tos, and talking with first-time homebuyers about their personal experiences. If that sounds interesting to you, please be sure to subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the little bell to be notified when new episodes release. Now let's dive into today's episode. Thank you for joining another episode of Homeowner Prep Podcast. I got some great information today that we want to share about how to love your job or find a job that you can love. So really what we're going to be talking about today is this astonishing statistic that 49% of Americans don't like their job. They're not happy where they're at. You remember that you're spending the majority of your day at your job. And so it's going to be vital that you love what you do. And as you think about buying a house, it's going to be even more important because a lender really doesn't want to see you jumping from job to job to job. They want to see you locked into a job. It gives them a sense of stability and an idea that you know what you're doing and that you are going to stay there and pay the mortgage on time at the end of the day. That's really what they're concerned about. So it's going to be important that you stick with the job, especially if you're already involved in the home buying process. You really don't want to be transitioning to a new job while you're buying a house. So we're going to talk a little bit about, do you love what you're doing? Why is that important? If you take the time to assess where you're at with your career, with your job, and really take a step back and say, is this what I wanted to do? Is this what I plan to do? And if not, why not? I think that's the foundation, coming to that understanding that, yes, you may like it, but there's some other things that you're either good at, that you're naturally skilled at, or there's some other things that you really want to try. Right? Maybe you got your college degree in a different field than what you're actually working in. So be thinking about that as a foundation. Where do I want to go? The last thing you want to do is leave one job, go to another job, and not like it there. It may not be the job. It might be you, right? So you really want to know where you're going to go, why you want to go there. And again, start at, what do I love to do? If this is a job for me, or is this a calling? Is this purpose? When you find purpose and calling in what you do on a daily basis, one, time flies. You love what you do. You love helping people. You find something about what you're doing as fulfilling. And so that's important. Again, you're spending the majority of your day, the majority of your life, working. And so you want to think about those things. The next thing too is you want to highlight aspects of the job that you're at that you may already love. Maybe you've been thinking about, hey, I want to change jobs or change careers, but maybe there's some things at your job that you really love, that you can do more of, that your job gives you some flexibility to do more of, or if there's a promotion that'll take you to doing more of what you love to do at that particular job. So you may not always need to just leave a company or leave a job. You may just have to find out what you love about that job and do more of it. So think about that as you're trying to figure out, do I really love what I'm doing? The next thing that I want to talk about is why you actually need to love what you're doing before you buy a house. Your job history, like I mentioned, is important. A lender doesn't want to see you jumping from job to job. They're going to look at, how many years have you spent in this particular field? And if you do change jobs, if you're still in the same line of work, then it won't hurt you as bad. But if you're jumping from different industries in whole, then the lender will take that and kind of look at it as a red flag. Again, their biggest concern is that you're going to continue working and you're going to continue to pay the mortgage on time. So your job history is important. They want to qualify you based on where you've been, based on the fact that you've been there for a while. And so they want to really look at what's the likelihood that you're going to stay there. What's the likelihood that you're going to stay employed? I don't want you to think that there's this such thing as job security. I believe that that's a myth in general. But from a lending perspective, they do want to make sure that there's a high probability that you're going to stay employed and stay in this field and keep earning the income that you're earning. So, you definitely want to be thinking about that, thinking about where you're at. And if you are thinking about making that change, do that before you start the home buying process. Find out, again, go back to the foundation of what you love to do, what you feel called to do, and then start to go down that road before you start the home buying journey. You don't want to change jobs and change fields in the middle of buying a house. So think about your job from a different perspective. Sometimes, we think about our work as, hey, they're paying me my income. And so they're, giving me something to do, whatever it may be. But think about your job as leverage, right? You want to leverage your job. Your job, your career, your employer is not there to make you rich. They're not there to help you build wealth. They're there to pay you for what you're doing. And hopefully they appreciate what you're doing, so you're getting paid well. But think about how you can leverage that job. They're going to be using you to fulfill a particular need. You need to be using that job, that career, that employer to fulfill your particular needs. So think of your job from a perspective of leverage. How can I leverage this position or leverage this income to get what I want? And there's nothing wrong with that. You need to obviously be thinking about your family and your goals and things that you want to achieve, especially when it comes to home ownership and maybe even real estate investing. You want to be thinking, hey, am I earning enough here? Am I getting what I need here in order to do the things that I want to do long term? So think about your job from a perspective of leverage. So let's talk about how you can find a job that you love. Let's say you've done those things, and at the end of the day, it's just really not for you. There's one thing that you can do that can make you happy. And if you're doing that thing and you weren't getting paid to do it, what would it be? If there's just that one thing, coming from an understanding and really taking some time, taking a step back and saying, hey, if I was doing this, even if I wasn't getting paid, would I be happy? Would that make me happy? And of course, you want to earn income, and we're talking about buying a house, so there's income needed. But when it comes to finding a job that you love, you can ask yourself that question because, again, once you find that passion and that calling, oftentimes, work doesn't feel like work. Hours fly by. You can't get enough, whether it's helping people, working with kids, whatever that may be for you. Once you find it and fall in love with it, then you'll know that this is what I would love to do for the rest of my life. And so you're not always just looking at retirement, vacations, and weekends to get away from doing the job, that you're doing now. Another thing to consider is obviously, working in the type of industry that you're in. Is that industry going to last? Is this a field that's going to continue to give me, opportunities for growth? Maybe you're in a dying industry. There's a lot of dying industries, and most people don't come to realize it until it's too late. So look at the field and the industry that you're in and see, hey, does this have long-term growth opportunities for me? Or is it being killed off by technology or whatever the case may be? Like I said, there's industries that are dying industries, and so you want to make sure you're not in one of those. And then take time to ask, is this a good fit for me? Find out if there's somebody doing, let's say if you wanted to work with kids and maybe you got your degree and work, in this particular field, and now you want to go after that. Take the time to research it, find out if that's something that you can see yourself doing, and then go to your circle, your social circle, find out who may already be in that industry. Find out if they're doing what you would want to do. And then take that person to lunch, take them to go grab coffee, and ask them questions about what they do. You may find out that from an outside perspective, things look great. That looks like the perfect job for you. But once you get behind the scenes, talking to somebody who's already in the trenches and doing it, you may realize that it's not for you. And so save yourself some time, save yourself some heartache and headache by reaching out to maybe somebody who's already in the field. Take them out, ask them questions, see if it's a right fit for you. And if you find out that it is, perfect. What do you need to do in order to go and fulfill that position? You can talk to that person about, what's the training that you need? What type of educational background did they have? What type of experience, was required to get into that position or that field? So you can ask those questions. You don't have to recreate the wheel, but it'll help you find a job that you love and really find out if you love the behind the scenes as much as you love the front of the house or the spotlight. So really think about that as you're looking for a job that you can absolutely love. Again, this information is really to help you think about where you want to be, because once you start the home buying process, you don't want to be thinking about making a transition and a change during that time. Once you buy a house and you now have a mortgage to pay, you may not have an opportunity to go and work as an intern somewhere or, take a pay cut somewhere to do what you really love, because now you have a mortgage over you and you want to make sure that you're paying your bills. So, think about these things before you get involved in buying a home. Don't let it hold you back, but really start to be proactive. Like I said, talk to your social circle, find out who's doing what you think that you would love to do, get the answers that you're searching for, start that process. Find a job you love, lock in, then go ahead and find that home. I hope this information was important and valuable to you. I think that, as we talk about the statistics of 49% of Americans not loving what they do for a living, I hope you're not part of that percentage. And if you are, hopefully we give you some tools and some nuggets that you can now put into play and find a job that you absolutely love. We appreciate you checking in, and we look forward to giving you some vital information on the next episode of Homeowner Prep. I hope you got some value from today's episode. If you know someone who could benefit from hearing this show, be sure to share it with them. And if you're listening to the podcast, we'd love for you to drop us a review. We'd also love to hear from you if you have any questions. So reach out to us on Instagram at Homeowner Prep. Who knows, we may read your review and answer your question on one of our future shows.